just seen that the FA Cup for the 2025-26 season will be on TNT Sports. Oh, bloody hell. Not going to be free anymore on TV.
I thought there was a split, though, and some of it was going to be on terrestrial and some of it was going to be on TNT.
It's just all about
it's
money,
awful.
isn't
it? No, it's so frustrating because even this season, you've had a lot of clubs that have got so far into the competition. You can take Maidstone for the main example in terms of this season. They're getting so far, and it's only up until they were televised last fixture, weren't they? And televised for this fixture, but up until then, they weren't getting televised, and that the FA and all the TV licensing companies have a brilliant chance to actually show those types of football teams, because you're not going to see them easily many times anyway. And it was a fantastic opportunity that I don't think they capitalised on very well, because if Maidstone wouldn't have got through Stevenage, none of us would have been able to watch it. And it's just pathetic at the end of the day. Like, one of the ties I think they had on the show, on the game where you had Maidstone and Stevenage, was like Crystal Palace and Everton.
Yeah.
That's so boring. Who cares?
I think as a fan of a lower league club, I would prefer to have lower league games on the telly. And it wasn't until someone said to me quite recently, what you don't think about is the games that are going to have more people watching them. And it's about viewing figures. It's not about, like, let's put Maidstone on. But because they have progressed now to the level they have, there's just the interest there. And whether that's right or wrong, I mean, I would prefer to watch the others, but I understand why they make the decisions that they make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they chose like Arsenal and Liverpool, didn't they, for one of the rounds? And, like, don't get me wrong, you can't not televise that, can you? Because at the end of the day, it's going to get good numbers. But as much as I understand they need money and all this stuff, surely they can afford to just show some more lower league clubs, given how well they're doing.
You'd think so. And the thing is, like, for some of those clubs, like, and without even exaggerating, it can help them stay in business for another season. It can, give them the leverage that they need to go out and the season after, like, compete for promotion. And like, it's such a good stepping tool. And it is a shame that really it is all about the higher clubs. And unfortunately, that's proven with the fact that the next round's on a weekday. Like, what?
That annoyed me, that when we had Ben on here as well, and he said that obviously these players have to take days off work. Some of them might not be able to, so that frustrates me. And as you were saying about the money as well, Claire, he was on and he was saying, like, their owners were going to put it towards a new boiler. And you think, like, they're utilising the money, having to spend it on new boilers and stuff. And then you've got these other clubs, and I'm not just tagging the Premier League and stuff, but there is a hell of a lot of money involved.
Yeah.
And you have some of these players on mega wages who don't like play a minute's football, who spit the dummy out. I'm not going to name any names in particular. Spit the dummy out and all this. Refuse to play football for this Premier League team. Get paid absolutely thousands a week, and then you've got a team like this, like, putting their money that they've earned through TV money towards a new boiler. And it's like when he was on as well, and he mentioned about one of their players missed the FA Cup draw because he drives buses for autistic children.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think,
my heart,
like, it did. And it just makes you think, like you said, with it being during the week now, these fixtures, and it's all suited around the Premier League.
Exactly that. And do you know what's really annoyed me from next season? The scrapping replays from, like, the third round or something. Like, that's ridiculous. And again, like, we wouldn't have got that game against Bolton. And that was one of the best games we've had at home in, like, years. Yeah. Like, they're just literally putting, like, the advantage against the clubs that get the most money anyway. Like, 100%. Why?
You'd surely think Premier League teams can afford to buy a few more rotation players to be able to manage with replays.
Yeah.
And not only that, you'd imagine and you'd expect a Premier League team to beat a League One, League Two, or National League
And
team 9 times out of 10
they
anyway.
play less games anyway in the league.
Exactly. I had a big rant about this because they have academy players. They have the standout like 11 players. They have a bench full of how many players? They have the academy players. Then you go below that and have certain like under this, under that, and all them. They obviously have the finances as well to buy other players for stupid money. They don't play as many games as us. And I even had a big rant about this because people are like, oh, well, we have international games. From the Championship right down to National League, we have an international. Like, we have these international players as well. We have to have qualifiers for the FA Cup. We play the FA Trophy. We've got, obviously, what was the Papa John's Trophy? I don't know what that's called now, because obviously we're not in it.
Straight Mogus Cup or something along those lines.
It'll always be the Pizza Cup, though, won't it? That's what
it's always the Pizza Cup, yeah.
But what then annoys me about it all is they wonder why clubs are going out of business and struggling financially. It's because, don't get me wrong, the fit and proper test isn't a fit and proper test, but also because this money that our clubs survive off, it's being taken away from us. And obviously, I know this by hand. You all know this as well. There's been times where we've had to sell a player because we cannot afford to obviously keep this player in there like our next asset, and just to survive like the next season, we have to sell a player. And by having a cup run, that might mean we can keep the player for like another season, and it just infuriates me so much. It really does. It gets me angry.
It infuriates me because, you know, even Newport, you know, we're an EFL club or whatever, but we probably would have made upwards of, you'd imagine, probably about 600 grand from this cup run. In terms of our transfer policy and how much we tend to spend, that funds us for the next 3 transfer windows easily. And that's with all the facilities and everything as well. So the fact that, you know, again, not going to name any players, but I'll use the United game as an example. One of the chants we had started during this fixture was asking a certain Man United player who wasn't featuring because of certain out of influence events, asking for a week of his wage because he's on like 300 grand a week, which is Marcus Rashford. He's on the stupid. We were all chanting, Rashford, can we have a week of your wage? There was a sign as well there, and it was, you know, it's not even just the money aspect. The excitement that we get when we get, you know, a replay at home or we get a replay away to go to a Premier League stadium or a Championship stadium, even that we're not going to go to otherwise, because, you know, you can have, there's been rare occasions where teams like Luton and all that kind of stuff have made the progression from National League to the Premier League, but that's a miracle story. Not every club are going to get the opportunity to go and play these Premier League sides. It's like when we drew against Tottenham at home, which we should have won, but we conceded like a 93rd minute penalty or whatever it was to Harry Kane. The fact that we got the chance to go to, you know, it wasn't White Hart Lane at that point. It was still the, what do they call it? The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is the most boring name on the planet. But the fact that we're able to go there, you know, that is the equivalent of what it'd be like to go to Wembley in that circumstance.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, scrapping that, you know, like the only chance that we're all going to have in terms of lower league fans of going to a Premier League stand or a Premier League stadium now is if we get through to the 3rd round minimum without replays and we draw a big Premier League team away from home. And then even if we draw, you'd imagine that they'll use all their subs and everything to just, you know, mean we gas out and they'll knock us out in extra times. At the end of the day, it's really unfair on all these lower league clubs.
They've not put a second thought against lower league clubs. And it's people like Jurgen Klopp that whinge all the time, where he's got such a huge budget. He's got players that are probably earning, you know, more in a month than your club have earned from that cup run. And they're moaning about, oh no, we've got to play another game. Fuck off, mate. Like,
you should be able to beat
those players are earning a lot less than your players. Those fans are absolutely buzzing that the club have got this position to do this. Like, just don't be a dick, mate. I'd love to call you Jurgen Klopp a dick.
It really upset me because this season we've had absolute luxury this season. In all fairness, we played Brentford and Man United at home. We played Brentford in the Carabao Cup, the EFL Cup, whatever you want to call it, and we took them to penalties. And the main thing I focused on was that after the game, Thomas Frank was like really nice about everything, and he was like, crediting Newport and said like best of luck during the season. The next week he sat there whinging about FA Cup replays. Make your mind up, because I understand, the Carabao Cup for the most part just goes straight to penalties anyway.
Yeah.
But you should understand that, you literally went to a low league ground a few weeks ago. You understand what that kind of game means to the club, and you're just entirely denying them of the right to make well-earned money for drawing against your side that you should be beating them comfortably anyway. It just, I could talk about it all night. It's so frustrating.
The thing is, though, Brentford, bear in mind, Franks wasn't the manager at the time, fair, but we
they
were
had the same thing, didn't they?
Park not that long ago, and that club will have had the same struggles that we're having now. So, people in glass houses need to not throw stones, because you know what? That's been them before.
I literally think I chucked a tweet out literally saying, you have no point to talk. You wouldn't have the opportunity to manage this club if they didn't have FA Cup replays, because they would have bound to have had them at the end of the day. It's, probably the most efficient way EFL clubs or lower league clubs make their money. And the fact that we're almost losing that way of making income for the most part. It's just bad, and it further proves all the bias that's always put to the Premier League. It's why the gap between the Championship and the Premier League is ever growing, and it'll get to a point now where 3 teams will come up, 3 teams will go down. The 3 that went down to the Championship will go straight back up. The 3 that got promoted to the Premier League will come straight back down. It'll be that every year.
Definitely. That's why it annoyed me so much as well about, I've said it before on this podcast about Nuno, because I feel like he was at Wolves not that long ago, and he was at Wolves when they were in the Championship, and they kind of, even though they were a higher club, they know full well, and he knows full well what it's like to be in them cup runs and obviously be part of the EFL league. So that annoyed me. But going back to the chat, we do have a lot of comments in the chat. Dietrich has put, some of the most unforgettable days in our history. We'll never forget being Chelsea in the FA Cup. Nick put, that announcement of the FA Cup has gone down badly. They quickly put out a statement claiming they would be a free-to-air partner. TBC, too late with that addition. Simon has put, Maidstone won't be going any further in the cup because obviously they've got Coventry as well. Shawnee, putting Prem teams on TV in the cup is very boring, and yet you have the lower league teams who rely on cup money. That's true, and to be fair, we do see a lot of the Premier League teams anyway, because it's match of the day. There's obviously, more often than not, Super Sunday, Friday night football and all these things. So we do, even us lower league fans, we do see a lot of Premier League football anyway, don't we? It is all over. Aled, this is a good point as well. One player's wage in the Premier League will be life-changing for one side in the 6th division. That is really true. Jen has put, we sold one of our best players in January and got a lot of money from that. That could keep players for the next season. Yeah.
Who do you support, Jen?
Morecambe.
All right.
Simon has put, not Premier League, but Jamie Vardy probably gets paid more in a week than our entire squad does. That is true. That is true. A 5th round televised game gives each team 125k. An online shown match gets 55k.
Says doesn't it?
Yeah. Spending more play, league games, FA Cup, FA Trophy, County Cup. That's quite a lot of games. Exactly.